Coming up on Talking Points, the House tells TikTok's parent company to sell the app or get out. Are its days numbered? How the Senate vote could go.
And the special prosecutor working on Trump's election interference case has resigned. How could this affect the outcome?
And Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer calling for new leadership and a new election in Israel. How leaders in our nation are reacting. Those stories and much more now on Talking Points. This one continues to be a big talker. The House passing a bill that would force a sale of TikTok within 6 months or face a ban in the United States. Thanks for joining us for Talking Points tonight. I'm Chilekasi, Adele.
And I'm Ericka Love. The bill is now going on to the Senate and may end up on President Biden's desk. Here to explain the future of TikTok in the U.S. is Talking Points analyst Gutfleish.
Thank you. The bill that passed the House had widespread support from both parties, with only 65 members voting against it. In an attempt to prevent it from passing, TikTok had sent messages on the app to its users to ask their congresspeople to prevent its passage. TikTok was originally under threat of being banned in 2020 and has been characterized by some as a security threat due to the app's owners, ByteDance, having ties to the Communist Party of China. President Biden has said that if the bill made it to his desk, he would sign it, as opposed to former President Trump, who initially said he would oppose it, but has since reversed course. The Chinese government responded by claiming Congress was resorting to hegemonic moves when one could not succeed in a fair competition. TikTok has also asserted that it has kept American user data especially safe and that they have used Project Texas, a plan that has kept American data separate from the rest of the company's operations. However, the bill may not make it to Biden's desk, as Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has not committed to putting the bill up for a vote. He has indicated it could be weeks until it's brought up due to more important issues, such as a spending bill and a government funding bill, to be voted on in the coming weeks.
Hey, Noah, what's the likelihood of TikTok actually being banned in the United States?
Well, a lot of it depends on if ByteDance can successfully sell TikTok in the next 6 months. It also depends when the bill actually gets passed, and if it even gets brought up in the Senate at all. But many in Congress do not believe that TikTok will be banned in the U.S., as you could take a look right here with Congressman Jeff Jackson.
I was reading the bill. The part I agreed with was the part that tries to force a sale, because I figured this would just be a better app if we didn't have to worry about the stuff that comes with it being potentially controlled by an adversarial government. The part I didn't like was the part that threatens a ban. Half the country is on this app. It has become a force for good in the lives of millions of people. So I weighed those two things, and the reason I voted for it was because I genuinely believe the chance of a ban is practically zero.
Now, Jackson said that he believes it will be sold, and that ByteDance will sell in the next 6 months and to a non-Chinese company.
And no, we've seen some sort of bipartisan coalition on the House's effort here. When we talk about the opposition, who's opposing it and why?
Well, the opposition is actually bipartisan, as both progressive Democrats and also conservative Republicans have stated opposition, citing First Amendment rights and also believing that the app will not be sold within the next 6 months and thus be banned. The youngest member of the House and only Gen Z member of the House, Maxwell Frost, said when asked if he was voting for the bill, he said, "Not only am I a no, I'm a hell no." And as he believes that it will not be sold in 6 months and would be banned, and believes that that is a violation of the First Amendment.
Lots at stake. Noah, thank you so much. We'll keep following that for you here on Talking Points. Breaking news tonight, former President Trump is appealing a decision made in the Fulton County elections case. Trump says the decision made by the judge to keep Fani Willis on the case and force out Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade does not go far enough.
The ousting of Wade comes after evidence was found that the two were involved in a romantic relationship. To break down what is happening here is Talking Points analyst Alex Burstein. Alex?
Thanks, guys. A confusing 2 months of courtroom drama was thought to have come to a close Friday when prosecutor Nathan Wade stepped down in the Trump Georgia election case. In January, it was revealed that Wade and Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis had a romantic relationship. Michael Roman, one of Trump's co-defendants, then requested the disqualification of Willis through his defense attorney, Ashley Merchant. Over the past 2 months, there has been hearings and finally a ruling on Friday. Judge Scott McAfee said, quote, "The district attorney may choose to step aside along with the whole of her office and refer the prosecution to the prosecuting attorney's counsel for reassignment. Alternatively, Wade can withdraw, allowing the district attorney, the defendants, and the public to move forward." Friday afternoon, Wade chose the latter. Now this has been not enough to appease the former president. It was announced today that Trump and 7 of his co-defendants are seeking an immediate appeal on the ruling that allowed Fani Willis to remain on the case. Now, to appeal the matter before trial, defendants must obtain Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee's permission. If he approves the request, the U.S. Court of Appeals would decide to take up the matter. Now, for some context, this is now the infamous Find Me the Votes case, where former President Donald Trump asked Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger to do just that, find the votes and win him the Georgia election. The defense wanted Willis disqualified, but both timing and financials of the relationship, which ended this past summer, could not be confirmed. It could not be proved that the relationship began before Willis hired Wade in 2021. There also was not enough evidence that Willis benefited financially from the relationship. This led to McAfee not disqualifying Willis.
And Alex, can you tell us what this means, the overall resignation for Willis, the former president, and the future of this case overall?
Yeah, so there's a lot that is still hanging in the balance for this case, and it starts with just how effective Fani Willis is going to be in this case. There is a lot of speculation that she may lose some of her power in this case because the judge just might not be thinking of her as powerful after this whole debacle. She had worked her way up in the Atlanta judicial scene, had some very high-profile cases, was the lead prosecutor in the Atlanta public schools cheating scandal, and also had a big indictment of rapper Young Thug last year. And then obviously this case made national headlines. But this case has brought her back into the attention, and now this relationship has caused some problems. This was at first thought to be probably the first case to go to trial of former President Trump's 4 current criminal investigations, but now that has taken a step back. There is no trial date set for this case, and with the appeal, which was made earlier today, it seems like they may be pushing this past the November 5th election. So still a lot of questions in this case, especially after appeal today.
Alex, thank you so much. Now, let's move back to our neck of the woods. We need to be bold. That's the message from Onondaga County Executive Ryan McMahon in this year's State of the County address. A lot of topics discussed here, including updates on the aquarium in the Inner Harbor, plans for the Great Northern and Shopping Town malls, and even the housing crisis facing our region.
However, the main focus of the speech was highlighting the impact Micron and other companies will have on future generations. McMahon says, "For the first time since I've been a public servant since 2006, I can look any child in the eye, including my own, and say, your future will be here, and I'm telling the truth," end quote. An open seat on Ohio's Supreme Court could flip partisan control. What to look out for after the break.
Women are bad with money.
That's what the world's been saying for centuries.
But now, we've got something to say.
Save it. Save the old-fashioned advice, the empty excuses. It's all worthless, unlike us.
To our fellow females, it is time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Contributing to our futures, investing in our independence.
Until we're no longer 80%
more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement. So again, we say to that, save it.
The falsehoods, the feelings of fault.
Then the funds. Learn how to save for your retirement at wesaysaveit.org.
Welcome back to Talking Points. A high-stakes Republican primary will kick off in Ohio tomorrow. Businessman Bernie Moreno is locked in a three-way primary after being endorsed by former President Donald Trump. This will be a true test of Trump's status in a contested Senate race. Guess who's joining us now? Everyone's favorite Ohioan. No contest there. Talking Points analyst Ben Bascuck.
St. Patrick's Day marks the end of early in-person voting for the Ohio Senate and presidential primary contest, but voter turnout this year hasn't seen much luck. Around 400,000 early in-person and mail ballots were cast statewide leading up to Tuesday, with many opting to stay home after Trump secured the GOP nomination. On Saturday afternoon, the former president joined Senate candidate Bernie Moreno at a rally in Dayton.
And we have to elect Bernie to get in there and to seal our border, stop inflation, crush the deep state. We started that when we got rid of Comey. Drill, baby, drill, and prevent World War III.
Both candidates are on the ballot this Tuesday, where Moreno is hopeful to secure the Senate nomination to face off incumbent Democrat Sherrod Brown. This week, Moreno faced renewed scrutiny over a 2008 scandal involving an adult website. Meanwhile, the Democrat group Duty and Country invested $3 million in an ad campaign supporting Moreno, raising Republican concerns of election meddling.
Bernie is a fantastic guy. He's getting some very tough Democrat fake treatment right now, and we're not going to stand for it.
The other two candidates running for Senate are Secretary of State Frank LaRose and Ohio State Senator Matt Dolan, currently endorsed by Governor Mike DeWine.
I focus on what makes your life better. I don't focus on my political career. Sherrod Brown has been in the U.S. Senate for 18 years. Let me ask you, do you feel more economically secure? Do you feel that we should be relying on our enemies for our oil and gas? Do you feel that our border is open? Do you feel that our neighborhoods are safe?
We've got enough corporate elites in Washington. What we don't have is any Green Berets. I will go there to fight to secure the border, fight for parents' rights, and to put this economy back on track.
Early in-person voting ends today, March 17th, and the official primary election will take place on March 19th, when the GOP's long-standing lock on all three branches of state government could be up for grabs. Reporting from the Lucas County, Ohio Board of Elections, I'm Ben Bascuck, CitrusTV.
Joe Biden and Donald Trump are crisscrossing the country after sewing up the presidential nominations for the two major parties. Biden is campaigning in Arizona and Nevada today, while Trump held a rally in Ohio this past weekend. Here to map out the race to 270 is Talking Points analyst Luke Radel. Luke, what can we expect in this presidential rematch?
Ericka, a presidential rematch indeed. We're expecting to see those same two candidates that we saw just 4 short years ago back atop your presidential ballot in the year 2024. Joe Biden will be there for the Democrats. Donald Trump will be for the Republicans after, as you said, clinching the party nominations this past week. Now, this was the math as it was laid out in 2020. Joe Biden had 306 electoral votes and Donald Trump had 232. But even if Donald Trump and Joe Biden won all the same states all over again, this math would be different, and that's thanks to reapportionment, the process by which the census readjusts how many electoral votes the different states get based on size. So, with that math coming into account, it would now be 303 to 235 because states like New York and California, Democrat-heavy states, lost population to more Republican states like Florida and Texas. So those all-important battleground states are going to be even more important this time around. It's states with names that you've heard before, states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and Arizona. Those are the 5 states that Donald Trump won against Hillary Clinton in 2016, but then Joe Biden flipped in 2020. These 5 states are where the presidential candidates are going to be spending a lot of their time over the course of the next 8 months. The 2 closest were Georgia and Arizona, each of which were split by around 10,000 votes. So let's take a look at the what-if scenario. What is going to happen on election night, November 5th, in 2024? This is the map with those 5 battleground states in gray, meaning that they haven't been counted yet for either candidate. If Donald Trump were to flip the state of Arizona, winning it back after he lost it in 2020, he wouldn't have enough. If he were to win the state of Georgia, which we talked about a little earlier on, still not enough to get to that all-important 270 magic number, meaning that he'd have to win one of these 3 Midwestern battleground states. Wisconsin was the closest of those 3. It's around 20,000 vote margin there. If he is able to win Wisconsin or Michigan or Pennsylvania, that will get him over the threshold to 270 electoral votes. Now, right now in the polling averages, it's early, but Donald Trump is favored to win in all 5 of those gray states that we saw earlier, so Joe Biden will need to storm back from behind in order to beat Donald Trump once again in 2024. Reporting in studio tonight, Luke Radel. I'm going to send it back over to you.
Luke, thank you so much. Coming up on Talking Points, U.S. officials pushing back against actions taken by the Israeli government. What America's highest elected Jewish leader is saying. Next.
Well, Thomas, you've got prediabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have prediabetes. Big time.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, but with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. And you can change the outcome. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your favorite brother, your other brother,
yes.
You, your football buddy, your football buddy, you, your plumber,
Breathe right into your foot.
your plumber's masseuse,
Yes.
you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Tensions are rising between American and Israeli leaders as U.S. involvement in the war in Gaza continues.
With combat between the IDF and Hamas continuing, many U.S. officials are asking what is left to be done in terms of Israeli pushback. Talking Points analyst Luke Welch joins us now with what some of these leaders have been saying and the strong reactions that have followed. Luke, good evening.
Chile, good evening. We have officially passed that 5-month mark since the conflict in the Middle East began between Hamas and the IDF. With many of Israel's allies sending large amounts of monetary and military support over, the leaders are starting to question what is left to be done. Israel has already occupied the entire West Bank. The Gaza Strip is all that's left for Palestinians who are attempting to flee to safety. If we take a look on your screen right now, we can see that the IDF has actually forced civilians back, setting safety concerns all the way back to Rafah, which is just a fifth of the original strip itself. On Saturday, the U.S. sent its second humanitarian aid drop with almost 30,000 meals for civilians, the death toll reaching just over 31,600, 72% of that number being women and children. Exactly 100 Gazans killed over the weekend in a residential airstrike and street attacks. Half of that number has been confirmed as civilians. Now, this has been leading to some serious concerns across the world, but in the nation, from the White House to the World Health Organization, the WHO saying that they are concerned for this multiple-week plan that Netanyahu and the IDF have laid out in expanding operations in Rafah. John Kirby of the White House National Security emphasizing this thought. Here's what he had to say on Fox News last week.
We will not support, cannot support, an operation in Rafah that doesn't have an executable, verifiable, achievable plan to take care of the 1.5 million people that are trying to find refuge in Rafah.
From the White House to Congress now, where last week Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer called out President Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying that he doesn't believe the Prime Minister is handling things the right way and calling for Israeli citizens to choose who should lead them during these intense times.
As the highest-ranking Jewish elected official in our government, and as a staunch defender of Israel, I rise today to say unequivocally, this is a grave mistake for Israel, for Palestinians, for the region, and for the world.
Not to be alone, though. A poll from the Israeli ministry showing that over 2/3 of Jewish Israelis would want to see an election very soon. These same citizens who took to the streets of both Tel Aviv and Jerusalem over the weekend calling for a governmental resign, citing that the hostages' release is the most important topic, and that does not seem to be what the leaders are truly focused on. The Israeli Prime Minister wasn't too fond of the comments and these thoughts from the majority leader, who in an interview with CNN says he doesn't appreciate these remarks, but they won't keep him from fulfilling his mission. Let's take a look at what he had to say on your screen right now. If we were to have elections now before the war is won, resoundingly won, we would have at least 6 months of national paralysis, which means we would lose the war. Time will tell, but Hamas's outlandish demands makes that deal a lot more difficult, but we're going to keep on trying because we want those hostages back. Chile and Ericka.
Luke, coming back to the States, let's talk about the differences, right? First, it started off with, I believe, a lot of those progressive congressmen, congresswomen who were more critical of Israel, and then you see Senator Schumer this past week. Are these big name reactions that we're seeing, is it how everyone feels?
Well, it's starting to seem to start a chain reaction, as you said. Those progressive support kind of never really existed as we see the starting to liberal and moderate. We're starting to see losing support. And from the Republicans, it just seems to be losing interest. They seem to be more focused on domestic issues, putting those to the forefront, which isn't a shock. Prolonged funding of a foreign war is seemingly more of a democratic idea, as we see with Ukraine and Chile.
And we've gone back and forth about this every week here. How close are we to seeing a ceasefire deal and the release of Israeli hostages?
Well, although Netanyahu seems adamant with his goals, there is hope. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with a Bahraini prince over the weekend to discuss if this 6-month ceasefire were to happen, hostages would likely be released. Moving further west, a report from Saudi Arabia stated that Israel and Hamas will have obstacles if they reach an agreement, citing Israel's refusal to allow civilians to move north and their ignorance toward a ceasefire as to why there is a holdup, guys.
Luke, thank you so much. Turning to the Caribbean now, the island nation of Haiti has been facing a rise in gang violence. The problems have become so severe that it's even resulted in a shift of power. Hey, joining us now is Talking Points analyst Peter Berry. He's going to talk to us with more about what the situation looks like currently. Peter, good evening.
Well, Ericka in Chile, Prime Minister Ariel Henry is out of the country and is unlikely to return. Violent gangs are controlling the streets, and Haiti's 11 million citizens are having trouble securing essentials such as food and medicine. But let's set the groundwork for the turmoil happening in Haiti. Back in 2021, the Haitian president who appointed Henry to his prime minister job was assassinated. This led to a massive power struggle on who would be the successor of the president. But today, the president's seat is vacant, and Henry is the only one standing as the acting prime minister. But his reign will also be short-lived, as Henry announced he will step down once a transition presidential council is created. The acting prime minister has been blocked from entering Haiti by the rising gang violence in the country after he left late in January to meet with other countries. Henry has also pushed back elections, saying that security is a higher priority for the new governmental structure, and its leaders will be chosen by a group of 9 individuals, each representing different political factions in Haiti. But let's turn to why Americans should care about this issue in Haiti. First of all, there are 1,000 Americans still left in the country, and Miami-Dade County is the highest population of Haitians in the United States. Haiti is only 800 miles away from Florida, and many Haitians have been fleeing by taking boats to the U.S. But let's take a look at both the federal response and Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' response.
And we urge others to do what they can to enable this Kenya-led mission to deploy in support of the Haitian National Police. We know there's a lot of work ahead, but these are positive steps to pave the way for the Haitian people to elect their leaders, stabilize their country, and determine their future.
The last thing you should want to do is get on some boat and think you're going to come through from any of these islands to get to the state of Florida. The most likely scenario is you will be stopped and you will be returned to your country of origin. So it's a hazardous journey. It's not worth doing, and we have the resources that are going to continue to keep the people of Florida safe.
Well, for the foreseeable future, Haiti will have a tough time trying to import resources necessary for their survival. It is possible we could see a United Nations military response in order to quell the political violence. Ericka and Chile, back to you guys at the desk.
Peter Barry, thank you. And coming up on Talking Points, presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has announced his short list for vice president. Who is on the list and what it could mean for the campaign? Next.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, it's pretty clear among a lot of people that there isn't that much excitement for this year's presidential rematch. It's made for some interest in alternatives to major party candidates, none more so than Robert F. Kennedy Jr., whose famous name has helped him build buzz for his independent bid.
There's been a lot of speculation regarding Kennedy's running mate. New York Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers and Bay Area lawyer Nicole Shanahan were a few of the names being thrown around. We bring in Talking Points analyst Ethan Kraut to discuss.
Hey, Ethan, we're going to go a little Pat Kiernan, New York 1 here. See this exclusive from Mediaite talking about Shanahan? What say you? What do we know?
So Nicole Shanahan is right now the favorite to be RFK Jr.'s vice presidential candidate. So Shanahan was married to Google co-founder Sergey Brin. They got divorced recently. She was also the creative force. I don't know if you remember the RFK Super Bowl ad, which got a little bit of controversy. She was both the creative force and the primary financial backer of that ad. Now, as you mentioned, there was a list reported by the New York Times earlier last week that had both Aaron Rodgers and Jesse Ventura on the list as potential running mates. As of right now, it looks like Shanahan, though, will be the vice presidential candidate for RFK.
And Ethan, you know, we mentioned controversy a little bit earlier in the discussion, but how does this impact, how does this flip the entire election as a third-party candidacy?
Yeah, so third-party candidates will end up taking away different votes from different candidates, which as looking at how close the election was last year, or excuse me, in 2020, you could see how just a few votes here or there could change the election. If you look at right now the polls, Joe Biden in this Quinnipiac poll has a 38 to 37 lead on former President Trump, but RFK, you see, has 15%. And if we look back to even as recently as 2016 election, third-party candidates can make a huge impact. In the Pennsylvania election, former President Trump didn't win 50% of the vote, but he still won the state after Gary Johnson received 2.4% of the vote, which was well within the margin of how Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton.
And I know there's a lot of Democrats concerned about how it could potentially affect Joe Biden. Honestly, looking at some of those and looking at the similarities in some of the stances, it could end up hurting Donald Trump more, but I guess we'll have to see.
Absolutely.
Come November. Ethan, thank you so much. Hey, that's all the time we have for you on this episode of Talking Points. Be sure to follow us on X and Instagram at CitrusTV News. I'm Chilekasi, Adele.
And I'm Ericka Love. Have a great night, Syracuse.